Good afternoon. Welcome to In Conversation With. I'm Jo Makasinski, editor of Building Better Healthcare, and today I'm in conversation with David Hartley, Managing Director of MTX Contracts. Welcome to the podcast, David.
Good afternoon.
Can you tell us a little bit, for those who are not familiar with the brand, a little bit about MTX Contracts and the sectors that it serves, please?
Okay, so we're a construction and engineering company working throughout the UK. We adopt modern methods of construction where we often build projects in half the time compared to a traditional construction solution. We work mainly for the NHS in fast-track projects, and on occasions we get involved in refurbishment and remodelling projects. I think a strong part of MTX is our in-house construction and engineering expertise, where we're able to support our clients from conception through to completion, ensuring we meet their key aspirations at every point along that journey.
Can you tell us how offsite construction and modular build differ from the traditional construction methods that might have been used by the NHS and private healthcare trusts in the past?
Yeah, the big advantage with offsite construction, which is so clearly supported by the government at this current time, there is a big advantage given the fact that there are a number of activities with offsite construction which take place in parallel. So whereas a traditional construction solution, you would construct the foundations, prepare the enabling works, and then build on top of them in situ, we're actually working in parallel. So at the same time that we're preparing the substructure, the foundations, the enabling works, we're in a factory environment creating a building, and those two activities run in parallel. What also that achieves is we get some very, very high levels of quality because of the quality control process as it passes through the factory. There is a bigger opportunity for recycling. And of course, because the site activities are reduced, we're able to significantly reduce the disruption on site, which clearly allow the hospital estate to be able to continue with their activities, as I say, with the least disruption possible. And it has to be said also is that there was a perception that modular offsite buildings are somehow substandard. It's fair to say that all of our buildings have to comply to meet the stringent guidance of the HBNs. Often our buildings have a design life for 60 years. So for me, it's a win-win scenario. You have a building that complies. Often our buildings have solid concrete floors, good architectural license externally, internally. And often you wouldn't be able to tell one of our buildings is a building constructed off-site, but of course it's got all the advantages of construction that I previously described.
How do you support your clients' pre-construction phase?
We have a pre-construction team which is headed up by our pre-construction director, Adam Robertson. Throughout that process, particularly maybe at REBA stage 1, our clients may have a requirement in terms of, for example, a requirement for 24-bed ward, but may not necessarily understand where on the site that's going, and possibly given financial challenges, able to understand how they can get that to the next stage. We're able to support them through every step of the way. So initially we could come up with a concept design, a sketch layout, explore in conjunction with them where it could go on the site, possible access and egress, how the building could be installed safely. We would work that all the way up through to stage 4 of the REBA plan of work. So we achieve a fully designed project which can then support OBC or FBC submission and approval. In conjunction with that, it can also support the planning process. And hopefully at the end of that journey, we're successful and we go on to the construction phase of that project. And on some occasions, our clients choose to take that pre-construction pack away and tender the project to ensure, that to market test. But no, it works well, and as I say, it gives clients the option to we'll hold their hand on every step of that journey.
Now, modular construction was popular in the last become popular in the healthcare sector in the last decade, hasn't it? But particularly during COVID. Can you give us a few examples of your work currently?
Whilst we have not been involved in any COVID projects directly, there has been a big demand on our the requirement to ensure that the projects that we were working on are constructed very, very quickly, or rather completed very quickly. And we were fortunate to be able to respond to that. A lot of our sites remained open for 24/7 working, and of course with the closure of some non-essential sites, that actually freed up resource to be able to serve some of our sites, to be able to offer some acceleration. In terms of projects that we're working on at the moment, we're over in Norwich. We're working on a very large project there, which is nearing completion, which will see, I think, an additional 70 beds. That will be a fully compliant facility with a design life of 60 years. At the same site, in fact, we've produced recently completed an IRU facility, interventional radiology unit, and that's nearing completion and will be commissioned within the coming weeks. In addition to that, we're working in Leicester on a project rooftop extension to a facility there. Very, very prestigious project. Very, very high level of finishes and engineering. We are also in Kent constructing some operating theatres, 4 state-of-the-art orthopaedic operating theatres, in addition to working on various projects in and around the London area. But at this time, we're seeing the government are committed to investing in the NHS, and it's without doubt that we're seeing that money, that spending, come through the procurement departments of various hospitals, which is good news.
Great news for you. Where do you see the future of MTX? Where do you think you'll be going in the next 5 to 10 years?
We are committed, whilst we wish to see continued growth. The growth needs to be sustainable, and it's absolutely important that we continue to support our clients in providing products, and particularly a service which isn't compromised by any growth. So it is important that we grow at a sustainable rate, which will be supported by our apprenticeship schemes and continued employment of younger people to bring those along that journey with us. But I must stress that we won't compromise the growth of the business with quality, and the service that we provide needs to be at the forefront at all times.
And post-occupancy evaluation has become very popular recently, very necessary in the healthcare market. How do you support your clients when you've moved away from the building, you've finished it?
Yeah, well, in fact, a good question. But in fact, the journey begins, believe it or not, at the beginning. We at the outset work with our clients to establish what that commissioning programme, that post-occupancy landscape is to look like, and we set out the agenda, the itinerary in terms of what are your key aspirations, our clients' key aspirations, both operationally and functionally, in terms of their expectations for the building. So along that journey, pre-construction, construction, we're able to work with the end in mind. And an example of that is, a month prior to completion on all of our projects, we plug in our in-house FM team to that project, so they get to understand the site, they get to understand the client, and in the event of any failure, they are able to respond quickly, knowing the client and knowing what the facility is. And it's proven a big success. In addition to that, we also have a client relationship manager who is responsible for ensuring that we support the client throughout the completion of the project, and in the event that there are any challenges, again operationally possibly, he is at the end of the line, the end of the phone, to be able to respond quickly. So that's absolutely important to us, and it's working really, really well.
I mean, there's no argument that off-site construction is going to be the way that the government wants the healthcare sector to move. So I'm delighted to have spoken to you today. I think it's given people an insight into the benefits of it. And thank you so much for talking to me.
Great, thank you very much.